Hello, everyone, and happy Pride. Hi, everyone, welcome back to a fictional escapist. My name is Kris, and today's video is going to be celebrating some underrated self-pub slash indie gems for Pride Month. In all these books that I have here today, we have either some queer characters or the book itself is queer normative and just an overall good time. And I would like to celebrate some of the books that I don't necessarily talk about all that often that do shine a light on these characters within the LGBTQIA plus community, particularly for this month. Now, I know there's a lot of discourse about these communities at the moment, and I think now more than ever it is important to be visible and to try and showcase that we are just human beings as much as any other person. So, I've got 10 for you today. It's not an extensive list by any means. I have spoken about more in other videos as well and celebrated more. I just did a episode of Genre Blender with my friend Ryan where we talk about some in television. Today it's going to be books, and we are doing a part 2 with some of my favorite queer characters in books. But today should be underrated things that people haven't necessarily heard of these on this channel before, or I've not showcased as much as I should have on this channel before. But hopefully you can find some that you will relate to and go ahead and pick up. So we've got 10 here today, starting with The Souls Aspect by Mark Holloway. So this book here, I don't have the ring light on because lighting situation, and gloss covers like already doesn't like it. Anyway, I digress. This book here it starts off, I would argue, not necessarily YA, but maybe new adult feeling, and we're following a character called Kellum as he learns that he may be part of the aspect. Now, it's not Kellum himself, which is the character that I'm talking about in this particular book, but the friendship group that he goes and makes in his magic school in the first, I would say, first two-thirds of this book. It's just wonderful. There are some really beautiful dynamics, and Mark Holloway has done such an excellent job of creating a friendship group of boys that feels authentic, and two of them just happen to fall in love with one another. It was such a delightful time, definitely one of my favorite aspects of the Souls aspect, and it warmed my heart as we get into some of the darker, more grittier details of this particular story. Now, I don't want to give any spoilers away, so I'm only going to be talking about the first book here, but I thought it was charming. The dynamic between the friendships of the boys was just delightful, and like I said, there was not really a question of it. There was a little bit of, oh, I don't really want to come out, I don't know how people are going to take it, and the reactions just being charming and lovely. So I think this is super underrated as a series as a whole. I think Mark Holloway's writing and style and experimentation builds with every book, but if we're talking about those queer characters, which has meant something to me and I think is underrated, this is definitely one for my list. Next up at number 9, we have Partial Function by J.C.M. Byrne. Now, you might know J.C.M. Byrne by his Hybrid Helix series, which is fantastic, and this book still has that fast-paced action. It is very martial arts inspired with magic, and it's insane, like in the best possible way. But the best friend of our main character, I think I want to say his name is Remy, if I'm remembering that correctly, is a queer character. He's very quiet about his queerness, but it is there, and it underlines some of the actions that he takes, or some of the conversations, I should say, that he has with our main character here. I quite liked the reserved style of the queer character who doesn't shy away from his sexuality at all, but it's not who he is as a person. It's not at the forefront of the story. He just happens to be queer. And those are some of the stories that I resonate with personally, as my queerness doesn't often come to the front being in a heteronormative relationship. So I really enjoyed Remy as a character. I hope I'm remembering that name correctly. Joe, if you watch this and I'm wrong, please do let me know. It's been a little while since I read Partial Function, but I resonated with him quite a lot in terms of just being quietly queer, not in the closet or anything like that, but it wasn't the be all and end all of who he was as a person. He just happened to be queer. And I don't hear enough about Partial Function or JC and Byrne as a whole. The Hybrid Helix series is also amazing, but this one was the first one that I read and will hold a place in my heart. Coming up at number 8 is a short story bordering novella, and this is called In His Winter by Ricky Smith. And this is uh, a cozy story, I would say, definitely on the cozy side. There's enough in there to grip your teeth into, but for someone like me who doesn't necessarily gravitate towards cozy all that often, I found this quite delightful. And this isn't an overt male relationship by any means. It's definitely more of a friendship that potentially could be more if the author were to delve into that. This book follows some seasonal fairies essentially. So every quarter, a new group of fairies will wake up to tend to this forest, and we have one fairy who I want to say his name is Nutzti. Nutzti. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Who has woken up in a season that is not his, and he goes to try and figure out what's happening, and he runs into a I want to say snow fairy, so a fairy of the time that he's woken up in named Krina. And the dynamic between these two boys, again, is lovely. It doesn't necessarily start all that amicably, but they learn to work together and to overcome their differences, and it was just delightful in that sense. So if you are someone who gravitates towards cozy reads and you're looking for something that is, I would say, queer coded, and potentially has the it could be more down the road. I can't quite remember if it happened in this story, but it was queer coded to me personally, and I had a wonderful time with it. Ricky's writing has really just taken off and is something that I really enjoy personally, and I'm looking forward to seeing if there is more of this sort of blossoming friendship throughout this particular series. So the cover, I'll put all the covers if I don't have them physically up here, but it does have these two young fairies holding hands as they go on their adventures. So had a good time with that one as well. Up at number 7 is some erotica, which I don't normally read, but I did actually do an alpha read for this one. This is Chasing Joy by Ella Larson, called Among the Hidden Folk, I want to say, Falling for the Hidden Folk. And this one features one of our characters, Sam, who falls for a troll lady named Frida. Frida, I'm probably mispronouncing that. I believe it's Norwegian, but we do have a very graphic and sapphic erotica here. Ella's writing is just stunning. It's beautiful. It is a lot of fun, this series. As someone who does not gravitate towards erotica at all, it's just a bit of fun. And there were some kitchen utensils in this one that I would never have guessed could be used in those particular ways. If you want to find out more about that one, you'll need to go ahead and read Chasing Joy. Now, this is a book 3 in a series. I would argue that you don't necessarily need to read the others in the series to get the gist of Chasing Joy if you're looking for a cheeky sapphic read, but it does give you some context in terms of the other troll characters that have been in there throughout the beginning of the series. I've now read 2 out of the 3, and I've enjoyed both for what they were. Quick, fun, easy. It's like 150 pages or so for this particular book, but I enjoyed the sapphic situation between Sam and Frida. And again, I apologize if I pronounce that horrifically. Also bordering on not, I wouldn't say, is it erotica? I don't know. There were definitely some spicy scenes. It was fantasy with some spicy scenes, and this is A Hired Blade by J.C. Roycroft, and again, this is sapphic. I believe most of the characters in this world are queer. They may be a token straight person, but we do have a like chaotic bisexual character. There's definitely a sapphic character in there, and this was a sapphic love situation in this particular novella, but it did pack a punch. It was so action heavy. I know that my housemate really enjoys J.C. Roycroft's writing. I need to read the 2 novels that are out in this world. I've only read the novella, and that is, I think it's 0.5, so a prequel novella to the story. I really like the writing. I really got a kick out of the spicy scenes in this one, but I thought they were well done, and my housemate, who is of the sapphic variety, also enjoyed it quite a lot. So I don't hear a lot of people talk about J.C. Roycroft, but I would like more people to, because I had a great time with that novella, and it's made me want to go and continue on with that series. Up at number 5, we have the series Gardens of War and Wasteland. This is by Jessica A. McMinn, and we have quite a few people of the rainbow in here. So the 2 that I'm going to refer to are male, and this is Kyo Kaharan and Reihai. I hope I pronounced that correctly. They are male lovers in this book, and book 2 gets a little bit more spicy than book 1. But we also have who I would argue our main protagonist is Amika, or Amikahalia. Probably pronounced that incorrectly. In fact, let's go have a look at what her name is, because I'm fairly sure I did pronounce that incorrectly. Amikalia? No, I got it pretty close, I think. I don't know. Jess, if you watch this, you can you can correct me. The main character, Amika, comes into her asexuality more in book two. So we do have multiple points of the rainbow in here. I really enjoy Reihai as a character. Is probably my favorite in the books, but unapologetic, queer normative. The conversations in here are fantastic, and it's not really at the forefront. Like, it's not their queerness, it's just their love, which I enjoy as well. These are action heavy, fast paced fantasy roms, and they're a lot of fun. I've enjoyed both book one and book two, called The Blood Curse, which you probably can't see them, but it is on the shelves behind me. If you're looking for a queer friendly read, then I would definitely give this one a go. A lot of fun. Up at number 4, we have The Fall Is All There Is by C.M. Kaplan, and I've never met a more chaotic bisexual than Peter, the main character in this book. So Peter does have instances with both men and women in this particular series, and there isn't really just a question of his queerness or his identity. He just happens to be attracted to both and has experiences with both in the book, and I really like that. I also like that he is like an unreliable narrator who is just living his chaotic bisexual life, and it is chaotic. I cannot say any more on that, because if I name names in there, then potentially there's spoilers, but I can't wait to continue on with this series. The second book came out recently, and I will hopefully get to that one sooner rather than later. I may even reread the first one, but I had a good time with The Fall Is All There Is. I'll put the new cover up here as well. At number 3, we have The 13th Hour. This is by Trudy Skies, and this is a queer normative world. So it is one of two. No, got a couple. It's queer normative world anyway, and a lot of the characters in this book are somewhere along the rainbow. But the character that I like the most in this particular series is Vincent, who is like a vampiric necromancer character, and he's in a relationship with another man of a different species, which is interesting as well to have that allegory in there. Queer normative world, there are no questions about it. I had a great time with the first book. I can't wait to continue on with the series. I say as I haven't continued on the series yet, but I will. And I only hear it gets more chaotic from the first book. So if you are someone who appreciates a queer normative world but doesn't necessarily have to have the sexuality discussed in every essence of, or every turn of the page, I should say, then this may be one that you want to go ahead and check out. Speaking of queer normative worlds where it isn't the be all and end all, people are just sexual beings, I'm going to be mentioning The Forging of Age Duology by Tatiana Obi as my number 2. So this book, we follow a multitude of people. I would say our main character is Raja, but we also have her counterpart Nico, and they both talk about sex and relationships as they are new adults. This is a new adult series, probably the youngest one that I have on this particular list in terms of their target market, and just being okay with being queer and experimenting, and maybe sometimes it's not for you or it is for you, and you don't need to put labels on anything. You can just be attracted to who you're attracted to, and it doesn't really matter. We also had conversations of gender in here as well, which weren't again like super in your face, but they were just side conversations which made people think. Certainly made me think as a transgender man, how my own experiences in my transition and what happened throughout the course of those years. So I would recommend this to most people. In terms of the story itself is fantastic, the way it makes you think is fantastic, the world building is excellent, and there are a bunch of characters in here who are queer normative, and it's just wonderful. Finishing us off with number 1, I'm going to be holding this one up, and probably my favorite queer normative world fantasy romp. It doesn't shy away from any spicy things, but it's epic. We've got political machinations happening in the background, and it's criminally underrated. And yes, you're going to know the name from some drama that has happened earlier this year, and that is Azheek the Rising by Naomi King. So regardless of what you think about the author, they have created a fantastic queer normative world. This is one of the most fun books I think I have read since starting on the platform, be it here or be it on Bookstagram. If you want to dabble in gender and queer normativity and just have a really fun time doing it without it being overly political, I'll say like it is political, like reading is political in my opinion, you're going to gravitate towards books that align with your views and things like that. But if you are looking to expand and just have a fun time, Azheek the Rising is just fantastic. It is so fun, and I would like more people to read this book so that I can continue to talk about this book. And I really hope we get a sequel at some point. But it is fun enough to read by itself, and I will be rereading it at some point. Also, the author is super, super talented. This cover was done by them as well many years ago. They are currently narrating the book to have an audiobook, and it's queer as hell as the one of the endorsements on the back, and I cannot agree more. So I really enjoyed this one. Those are some queer books, or some books that explore LGBTQIA plus characters and themes that are underrated in my opinion, that I don't talk about all that often, or at least anymore. I think I did mention Azheek the Rising quite a bit when I read it a few years ago, but in the most recent years, not so much. Have you read any of these? Are you going to pick any of them up? Do any of them sound good? Do you have recommendations for me? Drop them in the comments down below. If you like the content, give one of those. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will, and I will catch you in the next video. Ciao.